All right. All right. Looks like we're live and ready to go. So I've been convinced to share some of my fiction with you all, and I don't consider myself to have a very good reading voice, but you all can make that decision for yourself. This particular project, I was going to originally design it to be a visual novel, and I might still do that. I still want to draw the characters and do some of the backgrounds. And great, awesome. Thanks, Phantom. Thanks for letting me know. But yeah, I still might do that because I do want to do some art for this project. I definitely want to draw the main character, Walter. He's very interesting. I'm very fond of him. He appears in a role-playing project of mine, and this whole story takes place in that world. It just takes place. This event takes place some measure of years before any of the current, stuff is going on in the game that we're currently running this character in. So totally before, technically a prequel, but it gets to, show a little bit about this character. This will be a choose-your-own style adventure, so literally the chapters are going to be very short, and then you, the listeners, and everyone gets to decide how it progresses. So here we go, I guess. Alright, Chapter 1. The Unknown Prince. Alright, this first little section is a first-person tidbit from Walter's perspective. Walter Marion Hatt wasn't yet a name Gryffindor knew. It soon would be, but this was before, in a time when precariousness held the land and forces vying for power made grand moves to ensure bloody victories. I was dealing with my own sea of problems in the vampire courts before my daughter even went missing. I considered the event an act of war by another family, but with no proof, I could make no such claims. My twin son was bereft without his sister, and I cannot blame him. Remy is precious to all of us. I vowed on all that I possessed that I would bring her back to us. I intended to make good on that promise. Her last known whereabouts pointed to Gryffindor. Word filtered in from my spies that she was spotted in a carriage with 2 unknown men headed for the Citadel. I knew then where to start looking. Now we go to the third-person narrative. Dreary clouds clawed the sky with such efficiency there wasn't a beam of sunlight to be spared. It was so dark it resembled dusk despite being the middle of the day, the thunder and lightning adding cacophonous assaults along with the miserable rain. Walter sat in the back of his carriage as it pulled into the town proper, the city itself a growing thing which was expanding from the massive 60-foot walls of the Citadel itself. Gryffindor was like a massive tower, surrounded by intimidating walls where then wooden fences were being built to surround it. The town proper a relatively new thing, with a number of now thriving businesses. Taverns, inns, trade shops, artisans. If he wasn't here for such a pressing reason, it would be an interesting place to explore. But he had not the time for dallying. Once his driver halted the carriage outside the town's gates, he thanked the pale-skinned servant of his household and dismissed him. Dressed in the dark but professional-looking tailcoat with knee-high riding boots, he procured his arcane parasol, which doubled as a walking cane, the handle cast of polished platinum and fashioned in the shape of a wolf's head, and stepped for the town proper. He hadn't wanted to take his carriage all the way to the Citadel's front gates. He didn't want anyone thinking he was anyone special, just in case this did turn out to be a vampire abduction. He barely had time to get partially down the main avenue, mud-soaked as it was. The streets weren't paved until about a quarter mile until the proper. The most recently developed buildings were still dealing with wood foundations and walkways. Walter quickly took cover under one such walkway so he could slide his parasol back into its narrow, snug position, taking a moment to straighten the locks of his long, pale brown hair. That's when he was approached. The fellow looked friendly enough. Some sort of gecko lizardman who stood about 5'5". Walter himself was 5'11", so it was easy to face him fully when he spoke. Greetings, Your Honor. You look like a dapper gentleman. Can I interest you in some jewelry, or maybe some fine silver? The green and yellow reptinoid gestured with a wide 5-fingered hand toward his nearby shop, where the name The Scaled Scales was painted onto the windows in simple white. It was some sort of pawn establishment, clearly. Walter faced the lizard man and gave his shop a quick look over with his flowing crimson blood eyes before turning to say. And here we have a bunch of choices for you folks. I've got, all right, these are all the responses that Walter can possibly say. Here's the first response. I'm afraid not, good sir. I actually have pressing business to attend. You haven't seen any Darkling children in town, have you? Here's your second option. I wish I had the time. I certainly have the funds and interest, but I can promise to return and make such purchases if you could offer me a bit of information. Here's your third option. I suppose I could take a look. Perchance you could answer a few questions for me while I do so. I have business here that's rather pressing. Here's your fourth option. I've not the time. Can you tell me, have any carriages arrived recently, and were any of them carrying any Darkling children? Here's your fifth option. That isn't why I'm here. Where's the best place for me to pick up information about who's been in town and when? I have a very specific person I'm looking for. All right, there you go. That's the first very simple, very short chapter of this story. You now, as the listeners, have the option to interrogate this merchant how you please. You can be direct, you can beat around the bush, you can promise to make a purchase and hope that, makes him more willing to talk to you. These 5 options are, the way you can progress with the story, and each one will have a very, very different outcome. Because how you talk to people, and this is a good example of in a role play when what seems like a very standard, normal, or even unhelpful NPC approaches you, you don't actually know what they know. So sometimes approaching them with politeness, sometimes approaching them with promises of money, can get you the best results. Sometimes just being direct gets you the best results. It's hard to tell because you've just met this person. So how do you think he's going to respond, based on the 5 choices that you have here? So, there it is. Just a little fiction reading. I'll probably do this every Friday. It's pretty easy to do, and even I can do more than one project if we really want. But for now, this is where we're starting with this little prequel that connects to our role-playing game, Society of Summoners. So it'll be interesting to see how it progresses. So thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you, Phantom, for being here.